Good afternoon, everyone. It's D. Bailey here. I hope everyone is well. It's a beautiful day out. I'm sitting here in the local park. Today's topic, required, a mind of peace and some reflection, which I've been doing for quite some time on this particular matter, and specifically the death of Jordan Neely took place recently in the New York City subway. And I want to give you guys some insight into the mind of the young Marine who everyone is villainizing. So what I wanted to do, me being a United States Marine Corps veteran, I wanted to offer some insight into this matter. So just to go into some facts regarding this unfortunate event. First of all, let me start by saying rest in peace and acknowledge the fact that this young man, his life was valuable, as is everyone's life. Okay, so just to kind of go over some facts here. According to news reports, I believe Jordan Neely was a 30-year-old young man, a frequent Michael Jackson impersonator. From my understanding, he had, to go into his criminal background, I think there were about 40 plus arrests. Some of them being, I believe, larceny, petty theft, and reports show, I believe, reports show felony assault on another individual. All right. I believe some more facts came out that Mr. Neely was homeless. His mother was deceased at a young age, and that his father abandoned the family early in life. Okay, so we have a picture. The young man, the 24-year-old Marine, from my understanding, he was a decorated he was a decorated sergeant, discharged from the United States Marine Corps. All right. Lots of public attention has been given to this matter, and from what I've witnessed is that a lot of it has been negative. A lot of the what people are calling the woke crowd have been condemning this homicide, taking the opportunity to attack, this young Marine and the government by virtue of the facts, the idea that Mr. Neely was homeless, he had mental health concerns. And what I wanted to do today is kind of offer you guys some insight into to the thinking of this young man who took Mr. Neely's life. This unfortunate event that took place, I think it's necessary for everyone to put themselves in the young man who's still alive, put themselves in his shoes. Me being a Marine, I have an idea of what possibly may have gone through this guy's head. Okay, and I think that everyone should take an attempt in doing just that, seeing things from his perspective. Okay, you're riding the subway, and from my understanding, Mr. Neely, he was hungry. He made statements such as, "I'm willing to," I'm paraphrasing. Okay, I'm willing to go back to jail for a long time. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. I don't care if anyone, I'll hurt anyone in here, which in my opinion is, are threatening phrases, or can be perceived as threats. Okay, we don't know the context of his behavior. There's no video showing the corresponding behavior accompanying these statements. So what I think is necessary, we have to look at the entire picture. And what I want to do is kind of, let's walk through this. Okay, you're a 24-year Marine. you have been trained to, as all Marines are. You're trained to kill. Okay, in the context of the enemy, in the context of the bad guy, in the context of aggressive behavior, in the context of threatening behavior. Okay, so we have to look at what is perceived as a threat in this scenario. All right, you're riding the subway. A man of reasonable stature. I'm not sure how tall he was. He's riding the subway. He gets on an aggressive posture. He's throwing. He's making statements that could be, harmful or perceived as a threat by not just the Marine, but as a Marine, I'm sure there were someone's children on board, someone's wife, someone's potential grandmother, someone's potential aunt. It may have been some disabled individuals on the subway as well. Okay, so as a Marine, trained to kill, trained to protect the lives of others as well as himself. Mr. Neely coming onto the subway, making these statements, putting forth these actions. Your first instinct is to prevent. All right, consider the context. Give me 1 second, guys. Consider the context of the country that we live in. There's constantly reports of mass shootings, bombings, historically speaking, although we don't see those on a regular. This is the potential. Okay, we don't know, Mr. Neely may have had a weapon. We don't know what reports show. And even if he doesn't have, the reports show that he did not have weapons, the perception could reasonably be that, there may have been weapons underneath his shirt, inside his clothing. We have to ask ourselves, do we prevent or do we respond? Okay, as a leader of Marines, as a leader in society, these are the things that you factor in. You want to prevent rather than responding, because once we get to the point of response, it's too late. Someone has already lost their lives. All right. So again, let me reiterate. It's unfortunate that Mr. Neely lost his life. I want to keep putting that out there. In no way am I discounting or devaluing the life of this young man. All I'm doing is offering some context. Okay, I'm offering context. All right. It appears as though we're living in a society where there's a large group of people that are forgetting that forget about the idea of a hero, of what it means to be a hero. Instead, we're looking, everyone is acting out of victimhood. Everyone is rallying around the flag against the power structure, which in my opinion is viewed as a white man. Okay, historically speaking, this is the demographic that history shows that everyone has been oppressed by, despite the fact that we're no longer living in that reality. Okay, unfortunately, if you're living in the victim mindset, this is probably the way you're thinking, or you're viewing through this particular lens. I myself am not a victim, and I don't view the world through that lens. Okay, but fortunately, everyone is conveniently doing so. They're looking at this particular unfortunate event as though, this is a white man killing a young black man. Despite the fact that Mr. Neely may have had mental health issues, despite the fact that he may have been homeless, despite the fact that he may have been hungry. We have to consider the fact that each individual is responsible for their behavior and for their actions as they leave their home and interact with the public. Okay, we don't diffuse responsibility from our behavior by virtue of being mentally ill, being hungry, nor being homeless. Okay. Another point that a lot of people we're not seeing publicly is the idea that as a community, whether we identify with the attributes of one another, black, white, LGBT, poor, wealthy, homeless, whatnot, whether or not we collectively agree or identify the same, the reality is that it's necessary that we identify as a community to the extent that we have to interact with each other daily. And what I think everyone is forgetting is the fact that there has to be a group of society that is proactive. Whenever a large portion of our society is not proactive, what happens is things fall through the cracks. Everyone can't be passive in their behavior. This is called civil society. Civil society suggests that absent the government or absent a governmental entity, things still have to be done. And I like to liken it to, the idea that we go through a lot of these poor communities and there's trash everywhere. There's crime. No one's reporting anything. And that's because everyone has this they mentality, this non-existent they. And whenever you have that thing, like I say, things fall through the cracks and they don't get done. And I think in this particular scenario, there's a generation that are not learning. There's a generation that isn't learning that someone has to take proactive stance, preeminent stance on protection. Hypothetically, let's say Mr. Neely had a weapon on him and unfortunately did something that, his behavior resulted in a murder, okay? And it was your grandmother or your child or your wife or your husband or your son that was murdered. You have to acknowledge the fact that you would have wished that someone had taken action, preemptive action, prevention, okay? It's hypocritical to use a straw man or, Mr. Neely's death to be, to lobby against your benefit, the homelessness, okay? To rally around the flag against the white man. That's not fair, okay? And it's hypocritical. You would have wanted someone to prevent that unfortunate accident or that unfortunate event, okay? This Marine, unfortunately, he took Mr. Neely's life. And in my personal opinion, I think 15 minutes, which is the time frame that, he held him in a chokehold. I do find that excessive. And personally, in hindsight, that is, okay? Hindsight is always, we see things very clearly in hindsight, which is convenient. But analyzing this, I think me personally, what should have taken place is the Marine should have knocked him out, struck him. Okay, as a Marine, we're trained to do just that. Okay, he could have taken him out in a strike, which would making subduing him a lot easier. Okay, with two other parties involved, I think it would have been that little, it would have been that much easier to do just, to restrain Mr. Neely. Okay, but again, I'm looking at things in hindsight. Okay, it's not fair to the young guy. He was in it. He was the proactive individual. Okay, so it's not fair for us to judge him on what he should have done. Adrenaline's flowing. We can't say most of us don't encounter these events on a daily basis, nor once in our lifetime. So it's not fair to do just that. Okay, we have to hold Mr. Neely accountable for his actions, for his behavior in this subway. See what we can do moving forward. How can we address the mental health issues to the best of our ability? Okay, there's always nonprofits lobbying the government, lobbying, throwing our police away is not the way to go. Where was the police in this scenario? You get my point. This is why we need proactive individuals. Okay, this is why we need heroes. This is why we need leaders in our communities, in our streets. Okay, people that will not diffuse responsibility, nor wait for the next person to act or to respond. All right. Before I go, I want to kind of give you guys some, to illustrate. I have an older sibling, an older brother. As children, he was my defender. He defended me against bullies. And I recall there were times where I felt as though he went too far. Why did you have to go that far? Why did you have to do that? In hindsight, I was in no position to make judgment. Okay, my life, his brother, his younger brother, he was my defender. I was in no position to criticize him on how he handled things because I did not get the job done. Okay? And I would like for everyone else to understand, put themselves in that position of leadership, in that leader's position, that person who took, preemptive action. Let's not throw away the idea of heroes because we definitely need those people that will act. Okay, let's grant some clemency to this Marine. Let's find another way to address these issues. Okay, mental health, homelessness. Let's reevaluate how we view these things. Because as far as I see it right now, the world is taking the opportunity to indict this Marine and potentially indict the whole Marine Corps, which we can't allow that to happen. He was trained for your benefit, and in my opinion, his training was being used as it should have been in this scenario based upon the facts that we have. Okay? It's just my 2 cents, guys. D. Bailey Speaks. Thank you for listening. Tune in. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share this video, and I would love to hear your input on this matter. And let's see where it goes. Okay, let's be patient and be analytical, and let justice prevail. Okay. Thank you, guys. You have a wonderful day. Peace.